everything I can relate to. I relate to gentrification. I relate to what it was compared to what it is now. I'm proud of it. I was born in Newark, New Jersey, the summer of 1971, on July 13th, which, by the way, is my favorite number, 713. It's lucky, it's unlucky, the yin and the yang, a balance, which is something that's important to me. My full name is Yolanda Hughes, and though I was named by my mom, I wasn't named after anyone in particular. I was raised in a single-family household with my mom because by the time I was 7 or 8, my dad was already gone, yet still around, if that makes any sense. Nonetheless, I was raised in a townhouse between South Orange Avenue and 14th Street. And what was that like? Well, there was always a house full of people. There was 9 of us, and my sister had a son, so my nephew, who was more like a brother, was there too. Plus, my mom had lots of siblings who had no problem stopping by from time to time, so the house was never empty. My mom was stern and strict. She was an educator who believed that education was the end-all, be-all. In her house, you had to do well in school, and even further, you had to be knowledgeable at home. Each day, we came home, we had to look at the news, be able to make sense of it, and even further be able to converse to show that we know what was going on in the world. But past that, past education, as I got older, I realized that my mom didn't really take care of me. But instead, as a teenager, I noticed my sisters did. And this was because my mom suffered from some sort of mental illness. Still, in our household, it was never talked about. It was taboo. It was taboo. So, my sisters took care of my hair. They made sure we had clothes. They made sure we had everything ready for school. And even when they moved out, they came back each day to make sure that we cleaned. They were the mothers. And my mother was a gatekeeper. And that was that. And no one ever talked about it. So, it wasn't until I went to college that I became sincerely worried about my mom's mental state. At first, because no one made sense of it, I just thought that she was stressed out from all the kids she had. But as I got older, I realized it was something else. In my mid to late 30s, I began to see my mother talk to herself and more respond to herself. And as I began to study her more, I started to see personality flaws. And I brought it up to my sisters, but of course they blew it off. 2 years before my mother died, what really made me make sense of her was that she stuck her hand in the grease fire and felt nothing. She had no reaction, yet both her hand and arm were both severely burned. At that point, I became sincerely adamant about letting my sisters and siblings know that something was really wrong with our mom. But at that point, it was too late. My mother had already became tired of being a parent. She had got tired of fighting the illness and decided to give into it. So at the age of 38, my mom put herself into a diabetic coma, and 2 days later, she died on her own accord at 71. For some reason though, as weird as it may sound, I admired her for that. I feel like she passed away on her own terms. She just got tired of fighting the battle. As far as growing up as teenagers, no one was thinking of going to college back then. And if they were, they were not. We simply thought we would graduate high school and work. I certainly thought that. I didn't think my mom had it at the time, and I didn't know of any other opportunities to go to school any other way. So, no one taught us how to dream past our circumstance. It was what it was, and that was what we knew. For us, getting out of poverty meant everybody was a drug dealer. Everybody was a drug dealer. We wanted to be like what we saw on Video Music Box. So the guys sold drugs, and the girls wore big fur coats that we knew we had no business wearing, but we still did because it made us feel apart from our circumstance. So that's what we did. And we snapped pictures, we hung them up in the bathroom walls in school, and that was our form of social media. Today, I think kids have no limitations. It's like you only figure out how to do it, whereas back in our day, we didn't even think we could figure it out at all. In my case, my brother Tomboy was a drug kingpin at 17-year-old. He did that for us. He was He was only 17, but he ran about 40 blocks, and everybody worked for him. He made sure my mom's rent was paid. He made sure my tuition was paid. He did that. He did that for our city. To be honest though, there have been times where I feel like I'm an outsider, and that's for a variety of reasons. One, being that I was raised in a community amongst people, but raised differently. Another being that when I was 19 years old, I held a secret that everybody knew, but no one would talk about. So I wrote a book about it. I wrote a book about when I was gang raped in Newark. I figured we were gonna talk about it one way or another. Another thing is the fact that I'm living with bipolar disorder. And I talk about it a lot, which makes some people uncomfortable because of the stigma around it. People don't know what to do with it. They think of different things because they don't know anything about it. But ironically though, many of them have experienced it in one way or another throughout their family. In my free time, I do it all. I initially started off writing a book called Brown Sugar, and then I decided to turn that book into a short film called Sugar. I'm gonna shoot it and film it in Newark, and I'm casting for that. And though I'm figuring out as I go, I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna shoot it. The book is very important. It's more than just about the gang rape. It's about what happens to these families when we keep these family secrets. It's about who Sugar is at her core. I want people to know that it isn't the gang rape that shaped and changed her, but rather her family life. At some point, I decided to try my hand at a monologue production called Black Girl Monologues. I invited 13 cast members to share their stories, to write and share their stories over 13 weeks, and then present that story on a stage in an art form. That's Black Girl Monologues. So it isn't scripted, but since I did that, I decided, what would it be like to write a play? So I decided to write Thank God for Girlfriends based on my best friend Stormy. Sometimes, I still do feel like an outsider around my peers. I'm doing what we were taught that we couldn't do. So to say that I'm an artist among my peers, it's a commodity. I mean, you can, they admire it, but I don't think they really understand it. It's like, they don't understand it because it's not where we came from. When I think of myself though, I do not label and limit myself as an artist. I'm a creative. That explains me. If I can think it, then I can create it. I'm a speaker, I'm a teacher, I'm a playwright, an author, and screenwriter. I am a survivor. I'm all that. I include everything and call myself a creative. Why not?